Welcome to r/RedditRevenge. This is a story of someone getting back at someone with revenge after being wronged. Thank you friends for subscribing to the channel and for so many likes. Today's story is, I'm not experienced enough to do the job I'm already doing, bluff called. The cast. Indus, that's me. I'm an analyst/engineer within a specialized niche of the tech world. Former boss, my first boss, recruited me to this SH heap of a company. Tommy, my second boss, cool guy. The Goon, senior vice president of my business unit, disconnected from day-to-day operations, and pretty awful. The A-hole, a project manager, PM, who benefited from mysterious levels of goodwill from the Goon. Christy, another PM of minor importance to the story. Renee, another PM, boss number 3. Sarah, technical recruiter who saved my sanity. The story. I worked for a medium-sized tech company, specializing in software solutions for a fairly niche but profitable commercial industry. Despite this, I had come on at the company making less than industry standard because I was desperate for work after a nasty layoff at my former employer. Mid-2018, my then boss began grooming me to eventually take over leadership of the team and department he was head of, and began transitioning responsibilities to me over time, with the intention of having me promoted to manager by the end of the year. This would also allow them to normalize my pay and compensate me more appropriately. As the end of the year neared, former boss was confident I could do the job and put in all the necessary paperwork and made all the proper arrangements, only to be effed over by his own boss, the SVP of our division, whom I will refer to as the Goon, and denied the promotion he himself had worked for and been promised. Some really shady stuff went down, and my boss ended up filing an HR complaint against the SVP in question over workplace discrimination and favoritism. HR, as they say, is not your friend, however. My boss soon found himself without a job, paid hush money, and under an NDA to not tell anyone what happened. See the additional context. I was pretty livid about this turn of events, if I'm being honest. Additional context and detail. Being passed over for the promotion wasn't the sole reason former boss took up a complaint with HR. The a-hole around the same time made a rather large error, which cost the company a not insignificant amount of money to correct. As was his wont, he looked to the most convenient target to pass blame onto, and chose my team. We're used to being a punching bag, and, in particular, one of our better infrastructure guys. Former boss was the kind of guy who wasn't going to let a member of his team take the heat like that. When the dust settled, former boss was officially reprimanded for the error the a-hole made and was told he was on thin ice by the Goon. Former boss decided he was done playing nice. When he contacted HR, he was slapped with several counter complaints from within the org, which HR magically produced from the ether, and the whole thing got escalated to the C-level employees, who naturally didn't want to lose face by supporting former boss over the Goon, who was already a controversial choice to lead our division. The final decision was handed down. We lay you off and pay you severance to allow us all to save face. You sign an NDA and say nothing of this. Former boss confided all of this in me before signing the NDA and collecting the severance. A little malicious compliance? Maybe. To add insult to injury, I was also denied the promotion, which I had worked for, and a new manager was brought in from elsewhere within the company to get the department back on track. We'll call him Tommy. Tommy was the director of project management and an incredibly likable but super overworked guy. His first conversation with me went something like this. Indus, I have a lot on my plate, and I took on these responsibilities with your team because I was the only one they could get to do on short notice. You seem like you've been doing fine running the team without interference, so you continue to do that and I'll set up a promotion path for you to become the actual manager. We cool? You know, former boss said the same thing. What happened to his recommendation for promotion? Yeah, about that. Not gonna happen right now. Budget blah blah, trust blah blah, experience blah blah. I've been doing this kind of work for a decade. I've been a manager before at a much larger company. If the Goon doesn't trust me because I was handpicked by former boss to take his place, then that's effed up. I didn't say that, but I hear you. Let's just work on going forward. We just need to get you more exposure, blah blah blah. Your experience was in a different sector of the industry, and it's just not trusted in this sector, and blah blah blah. Additional context and detail. It took weeks for the Goon to decide to give the job to Tommy, during which I continued to make sure the team's work got done and any required management decisions were made. During that time, the Goon and one of his cronies were apparently watching our team like hawks, recording our comings and goings from the office, how long we took lunches, etc. The entire team is comprised of salaried employees who work an absolute minimum of 40 hours a week. Being treated like children and hassled for being 10 minutes late back from lunch once or twice was a surefire way to peeve everybody off. But you see, our reputations were absolutely shot to heck because of the dust-up between former boss and the goon. He was looking for any reason to come down on us for it. Passive-aggressive memos were sent out, and brief, unpleasant conversations in the goon's office were had. I didn't bother to mask the source of these complaints from the team when I told them the new expectations concerning our punctuality. The team mysteriously started finding any reason possible to not work overtime after that point. So I bought into it, for the time being, because I like Tommy's way of doing things. He also assured me he'd get the goon off our backs about our schedules. I continued to lead the department with minimal interference and oversight from Tommy, and he started laying out a plan to have it all officially handed over to me as its manager in a few short months. It was around this time, however, that Tommy became increasingly frustrated with his actual job responsibilities as director of PMs. We had a conversation in his office that went like this. "Indus, I've had it. I don't feel effective in my role anymore because the goon keeps letting people do whatever the heck they want and won't back me up in implementing our new organizational processes. I feel like I've hit a brick wall." Well, what's the problem? The a-hole keeps doing the exact opposite of what I've asked, and the goon keeps putting off doing anything about it. I'm thinking my time here is coming to a close. It all came to a head roughly 1 month ago when I walked into Tommy's office one morning and asked, "Hey dude, how's it going?" I'm not one to stand on formalities much. I'm filling out my resignation paperwork. Just got out of a meeting where I realized I've been set up to fail, and I'm just not gonna have it. I'm done with this mess. Well, SH. Oh, but don't worry. I laid out the plan for how the department's going to run going forward, and the goon bought into it. You're getting promoted and blah blah blah. It'll be great. Okay, but sorry, gotta catch my flight. Have a new job lined up on the other side of the continent. You'll do great. The goon, in a last-ditch effort to keep from losing Tommy, fired the a-hole. Too little, too late. Tommy had already accepted a much more lucrative job offer and was out the door. The Monday following the departure of Tommy, the goon calls me into his office to discuss the future of the department. This was at the beginning of May 2019. So I know Tommy laid out a plan for the future of the department, but I've decided to throw all of that out the window entirely. We may still promote you, but to a lesser title than you were promised, and it'll be sometime down the line. Maybe instead I want to bring someone in from outside to do that job. Someone with 15 plus years of experience in your discipline. 15 plus years? For the position in question, that was a ludicrous requirement. I'd known people to get the same position in 8. I held my tongue, however, as I knew that he had pulled the figure out of thin air, simply as a deterrent to disqualify anyone on the current team from thinking they had a shot at it. It literally didn't matter what I said. So the plan is to promote me to a lesser position, maybe, because you want someone more experienced in the discipline for the manager spot? Okay. I went back to my desk thinking this over, a little insulted, but not yet decided on what I wanted to do. He had promised me nothing at all, and I knew that he had chosen his words very carefully to string me along. I had recruited and hired 90% of the current department, some of whom I had worked with in previous roles at other companies. If I wanted to, I could cause him serious problems. I like to think I'm more professional than that, however. While thinking things over, a PM named Christy pops by my desk. "So have you heard who's going to replace Tommy as the new manager for your department?" The goon told me he's hiring someone from outside. "Nah, it's gonna be Renee," Christy told me with a conspiratorial wink and smug smirk before skittering away. Renee? Renee who has 0 years of experience in my discipline? WTF. Surely this was a mistake on Christy's part. Surely. The goon calls my whole team into his office the next day for a larger meeting with all of us present to describe the plan going forward. I take it upon myself to clarify with him what's going to be happening with the manager role. "So you may want to clarify with the PMs what the plan is, because some of them are under the impression you're giving the manager role to Renee instead of hiring someone from outside," I said, testing the waters for his reaction. The goon hemmed and hawed and asked, "Who told you it was going to be Renee?" Just something I heard." Additional context and detail, Christy confronted me later for throwing her under the bus and telling the goon who had ratted him out. I maintained that I had not mentioned her name, but she didn't believe me. This annoyed me, but has no particular impact on the rest of the tale. Well, I may end up going with someone with a less traditional background for the role, and Renee's name did come up, but I haven't decided anything yet. I could tell, of course, that he was lying. He had already been telling his PMs exactly what the New World Order would be, and was telling us, the team, to be directly affected, something else entirely. For what reason? Well, likely because he knew it could blow up in his face in a very big way. "So you're considering Renee? What happened to the 15-plus year experience requirement in the discipline?" "Well, The goon avoided the question, and the meeting ended unceremoniously after he had rambled for 10 minutes or so about how he wanted more doers and less people focused on strategy at our level. A long-winded way of saying to leave thinking to our betters. I returned to my desk, absolutely seething with rage. He had effectively told us that none of us, with our decades of combined experience, could lead our department more effectively than someone who knew literally nothing about what we did. Well, all right then, bluff called. I picked up my phone and called a technical recruiter I knew. "Sarah, I need a manager's job. What do you have for me?" "Indus, it's funny you called when you did. I just got a rec for one this morning. Want me to send you the details?" "Absolutely." I quietly applied for the position and set up a series of remote interviews with the company. Within a week, I was told an official offer for the position would be forthcoming. In that time, things had started to shift around in such a way that I knew an announcement would be forthcoming from the Goon in regards to Renee becoming the new manager of our department. As predicted, an email was soon issued forth from the Goon, naming Renee as the new manager in an interim capacity. I knew it would be permanent. Naming Renee as interim would just allow the Goon to save face and retract it if it blew up in his face. A week and a half ago, the 3rd week of May, Renee calls me into her office and asks me how I feel about it. "I feel like it'll work out fine," I said. I wasn't lying. I did think it was going to work out fine. For me. "Well, I'm going to really be relying on you to step up and help lead the team. And I know you've done a lot of that with Tommy previously, so I just wanted to make sure you felt good about me becoming your new manager." Honestly, I don't think the Goon has any idea of what he's doing most of the time. But I don't come to work for him. I do it for me and my team. I'll support you to the best of my abilities, so don't worry. I told her, and I intended it. Hurting her would hurt my team, and I wasn't about to do that while I still worked there. She seemed to take this conversation as a positive, despite me literally not answering her questions in any meaningful manner. I smiled, she smiled, I left. The next morning, the offer from the new company was sitting in my inbox. I signed it and immediately fired off my resignation to the Goon and Renee. Renee came hurrying over to my cubicle. "Indus, I just saw your resignation." "Yeah, I accepted a manager position with another company, making double my current salary. It was too good to pass up. But I was really relying on you to help me out here. I think perhaps you might have considered your lack of knowledge and experience and need to rely on someone else to do the job for you before accepting the position you find yourself in now," I said, very politely and evenly toned. I smiled. She stared at me dumbfounded, sputtered a moment, and then asked, "So we have you for 2 more weeks?" "Yes, I'll be around. I've already started putting together all the documentation on the various projects, initiatives, and work groups I'm responsible for. It's about 150 items. You'll have it by the end of the week." "Wait, you were responsible for how many things now?" "About 150 unique things." Renee's face fell before she walked off. The Goon, true to character, didn't respond to my resignation for several hours. His only reaction was a tersely worded, "Thank you for your contributions to the company. Good luck in your future endeavors." We never spoke face to face again, despite him having multiple opportunities to do so. Before the end of the day, I had a group of 3 directors and another 2 project managers at my desk, asking me what had happened. The Goon implied I didn't have the knowledge or experience to do the job I was already doing, then gave the job to Renee. I anticipated he was going to do so and called his bluff. I got a manager job at another company. I start in about a month. Good on you, Indus. And I don't know why they didn't just give you the job. We all said he should have, were the 2 prevailing sentiments. One of the PMs standing there, having been motivated by what happened to me, announced her own resignation 3 days later. One of the directors I spoke to is actively interviewing for another job, and half of my current team have started quietly applying elsewhere. I have, of course, done nothing to dissuade them from this course. Every day since sending out my notice of resignation, Renee has asked me to stay at the company. I have firmly declined with a smile every time. More aftermath. Since the departure of former boss back in December, the body count within the overall business unit currently stands at 16. None of these positions have been backfilled. Why? The Goon severely mismanaged the budget for the business unit, and now, to correct that, he is forced to leave these spots open indefinitely. 7 people have departed the company within the business unit in the last month alone, including the director of software development, Tommy, 1 project manager, 3 engineers, and myself. At least 3 of the executive VPs, one of whom is the Goon's boss, have begun to take notice of these departures and have quiet, hushed conversations about what's going on. The Goon left for a 3-week vacation. My own team is on the verge of a quiet internal mutiny and have been asking me to keep an ear to the ground for opportunities where I'm going. Update 6/12/19. Today marks the last day of both the director of software development and one of the project managers, not previously mentioned above. On Monday, 6/10/19, 2 of the junior engineers on my former team were called into Renee's office to learn that they were being given surprise raises. Now they only make 30% below industry standard. This move was viewed with skepticism, and one of the 2 should be hearing back any day now about a potential job offer with another company where he'll be making roughly 40% more money and also be in my neck of the woods. I relocated 1,700 miles, /2,735 kilometers since originally posting this. Shortly before leaving the company, I gave a blistering but professional exit interview, in which the HR rep nodded her head and said, "This is the third time today I'm hearing this kind of thing in exit interviews." So things seem to be on course to continue to implode nicely. Update 6/19/19. One of the aforementioned junior engineers, who received a surprise raise, has signaled his resignation from the company, having accepted a position making 78% more money than previously. The goon, taken aback and caught completely off guard, made a ludicrous promise to pay said engineer, essentially more than our former bosses were making to stay on. Said junior engineer said, "I'll consider it," paused, and continued, "I have considered it. I think I'm going to decline." Honestly, I'm perplexed that a counteroffer, verbal or otherwise, was even made. Update 6/28/19. The total body count within the division now stands at 20. The goon has been seen stalking the halls of the company, checking up on people and gauging morale. He's made comments to the effect of, "Come review time, we're going to take care of you." 2 more engineers from my former team have contacted me to use me as a reference and review their resumes. Update 10/8/19. It's been something like 4 months since my last update. Here's the score. A total of 30 people have left the goon's department to seek other opportunities. Of my original team of engineers, only 3 remain. One of those 3 engineers is waiting on an offer letter for a new job even now. I hooked the other 2 up with a recruiter to help them find new roles elsewhere. My current job, however, is not working out quite as advertised. Perhaps I'll make a post about the utter nonsense old Indus has found himself in now at some point in the near future. Update 11/8/20. So, a happy ending, sort of. With the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, the company in question was forced to furlough a number of employees and reduce the salaries of others severely. 6 weeks later, when the employees were called back, my former teammates were quick to inform me that 2 people had been terminated in the shuffle, Renee and the goon. Upper management had seen an opportunity and taken it. Things now run 100 times more smoothly by all accounts. Cheers! Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button.